I'm Micah.
And I'm Diana.
And we have a few things to discuss.
Yes, we certainly do. So this episode, I think, is going to be a part two. It's going to essentially be a part two to what we were talking about in our last episode, and it's just a continuation of my transformation journey, because we pretty much just got up to the point of where I was ready to transform, and now it's going to be stepping in and sharing a little bit of what that was actually like for me. What did I actually do as far as changing my eating habits, changing my exercise habits, and just some things that may be useful to people out there that are going through their transformation journey.
So we heard about your aha moment and the changes. We heard about a lot of bad choices that you made for a lot of years, the depression that you were dealing with and the insecurity and the weight gain that you had. You made that aha moment. You ended up doing all these amazing things, and it's been 20 years since that, and you've been able to sustain a really healthy lifestyle. Let's dive into it. Let's dive into how you were feeling, what you've done, and any nuggets we can give these folks.
Yeah, you know what's interesting, and I was thinking about this just because the 20-year anniversary of losing the weight or having my aha moment just recently passed. So I've really been giving a lot of thought to this, and I share the story a lot of how I lost 50 pounds, how I've kept it off for the past 20 years, but I sometimes feel like that it gets glossed over how much work there was even after losing the 50 pounds to be able to sustain it. And that in and of itself was a journey that I had to go on, because so it wasn't just like I had that aha moment and then I stepped into making the changes. But then after I lost the 50 pounds, there was still a lot of work to be done to really create a normal in my life and to create healthy habits, because I kind of went from one extreme to the other through that. And then it was finding where the balance was that could actually be sustained. So when I started that journey, here's a couple things that I did right out the gate. I took starting pictures. I took before pictures. And in HitchFit, we have people take before pictures, and, a lot of people are like, oh, yuck, don't look at me, gross. Ugh. Like, I've heard the word gross, ew, ick, like, please don't look at me. I'm sorry you have to see this. I would say thousands of times people have, probably almost every single time that we have someone send in before pictures. So it's a really vulnerable, hard thing to do, to take those starting pictures. But I did it myself, and I'm really, really glad that I did, because even though it's hard to take them, and then I saw exactly, at first it was brutal honesty of like, okay, this is exactly where I'm at. I'm just going to take a look at it because I have to see it in order to really be able to step forward and make changes. And the other thing was just to be able to track the progress over time, because sometimes when you're stepping into healthful lifestyle habits, and there's are we there yet to this? There's is anything even working? And so that's one of the other powerful things about pictures, is to be able to take progress pictures and actually see, okay, maybe I didn't see a big change on the scale. Maybe I didn't notice that my clothes fit differently, but when I put these pictures together, I can see the changes. I can see that things are changing in my body. So what I did, and this was 20 years ago, so I actually had to print the pictures out. I had a little camera, and I printed them out. I took my before pictures and I put them next to my bed. I actually printed them and I set the photo on my bed, like right behind my alarm clock. And the reason I did that was because I was also trying to train myself to start getting up earlier, because I was more in the habit of staying up late and, overeating in the night and drinking, and then just getting up later in the day. So I knew that one of the habits I had to change was the time that I was getting up, if I wanted to be able to get my training in and start the day well. So I set the picture right there on the nightstand. And so the alarm would go off, and I would open my eyes, and the first thing I would see was my before picture sitting looking at me. And for me, it was like, I'm so tired. I don't want to get up, but I want that to change. So I'm getting up. And it was that. And then the other thing, because I also always used to say, well, I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning person. And I started actually telling myself, I love the mornings. I love waking up in the morning. I love how I get to feel in the morning. And it was kind of just a little mindset trick that I did that actually worked, because I actually started loving that time of the morning. I actually loved getting up at that in that time when it was quiet and it was still dark out, and I had this time and this space for I wasn't really spending much time with the Lord at that point yet, but just time and space that was alone. And so every single week, I would take pictures, and I was working with a coach. I hired 2 coaches to help me on that journey because I knew I needed accountability. I'd set this goal. I was going to do a fitness competition. That was what was going to be my motivator. So I had set the goal to compete, and it was 18 weeks. I said it was a show that was 18 weeks later. So I was giving myself like almost about 4.5, almost 5 months to prepare to lose this weight that I needed to lose for that show. And so I needed to get up early. I needed to take pictures, and I needed people to hold me accountable. So I hired 2 coaches. And so the one coach, I would send him pictures like every week or every other week, my progress pictures. And so when I did that, I would take my progress picture too, and then I would put that next to my bed. So every single week I was printing out, I like had this whole series. I still have these pictures. They're at the house. I just have this series starting from the beginning, and then the next week I took pictures, and then the next and next and next. And so I could see my body continuing to change. It was really powerful and really motivating to me to do that. And I started trying to figure out the nutrition piece, because I didn't know much about nutrition prior to that. I didn't really understand. It was like, oh, this is healthy. And if it had like a green label, or if there was a picture of a wheat on the package, you'd think that it was healthy. And the only information that they gave us when you became a personal trainer was really food pyramid. Yeah. So you really didn't know. You just really didn't know anything. And so it was like learning all of those things too, and having someone teach me how I needed to prioritize my protein, and how eating, just smaller, more frequent meals throughout the day, which helped me tremendously, because beforehand I had been starving all day and then binge eating at night. So just even that one habit made it so I just felt much better throughout the day. And as I started getting into that habit of I'm a creature of habit. So as soon as I learned, like, here's what to eat through the day, which was very simple stuff. It was oats. It was egg whites. It was, I would make my little protein breads. I'd use protein powder and egg whites and oats, and literally mix it together and make these little breads that I would carry around with me for the day. I loved those. And it was chicken, and it was turkey, and it was fish, and it was vegetables, and, trying to think, like some brown rice, but it was, and oils and nut butters. It was very, very simple whole foods. And I found a rhythm, and then I just stayed and stuck in that rhythm. And I enjoyed that, actually. And it gave me a sense of freedom. I knew what I needed to eat. So I would just spend a few minutes, once I got in the groove, it was really fast. It was like I knew what I was going to eat the next day. And so I would prepare everything, and then I just had it to go to the gym, to go out and about, do whatever I was doing. And what was exciting and why I wanted to keep doing it was I started to see the change in the pictures. I could start to feel the changes happening in my body. And that was very motivating to me, to not even just what I was seeing on the outside, but just the feeling of I'm doing it was very motivating for me. But also just my body felt better throughout the day, because I wasn't starving myself and then doing these evening behaviors.
So something that I heard that people really need to grasp onto if they're about to take their own journey is, number one, layers of accountability. Mm-hmm. There may be some people out there that can't hire a coach and maybe not have those funds, but I think if it becomes a priority in your life, you start spending your money a little bit differently too. If you have to have a coach to stay accountable, then you need to move your money around to see if you can figure out a way for the next 3 or 4 months that you can hire a coach that can help you stay accountable. The other really powerful thing I heard you say is the pictures.
Yeah.
And as you were telling that story, I did something very similar myself. You know, when I started my journey, those pictures are a huge level of accountability.
Yeah.
Because those are real, those are raw, that is you. And so sometimes we like skip mirrors. We've heard this from clients too. They're like, I don't look in the mirror. I have different sizes of clothing, and so I'm not, but you start feeling it, and so when you have to take those pictures, it becomes real.
Yeah.
Like real, and then you're like, and this is why we have so many people, I think, respond in a way of like, oh my gosh, I look so disgusting, or I don't feel good. I'm sorry you have to see this. I'm so embarrassed. And for us, we know that that's how someone may be feeling initially, but we also know during this process and through this transformation how much better you're going to feel, how much more confidence and energy. And I'd love for you to transition into that of like where you were at, and then like week by week by week by week, how it started just changing and really a new identity for yourself became.
Yeah, I'll touch on that, but just back to the pictures real quick. One thing that I know now is like when we're afraid to face something, that's when we run away from it. Like that's a trauma response. I've done that in a lot of things. If I don't want to deal with something, I don't look at it. And I think a lot of people, that's what we do with our bodies. We don't look in the mirror and then it won't be real. Don't take the picture and then it won't be real. So another powerful thing about the before pictures is when someone is actually ready, when they're actually willing to take a look at it, whatever it may be. That could be in their finances, it could be in their relationship, it could be in their physical body, it could be in their spiritual walk. But usually it's, I'm not going to look at it, and as long as I don't look at it, it's not there and it doesn't exist, and I can just keep moving forward and pretend that it's not there. And isn't that true of like so many other aspects of life?
And when you have that coach in place, you got to share it all with them too.
Yes.
But that, I think the powerful thing with that is you're now going on this journey not alone.
Yeah.
But with somebody with a lot more knowledge, more than likely, than you do about the matter, that can keep you accountable, that will speak truth into you, and an individual that ultimately cares about you and wants you to get to a good place.
Well, and even speaking to hiring, the coaches that I chose were people that had walked the path before me. And so, for you and I, it's always important for us. Like we've coached clients in a lot of different ways, and health and fitness, but even like whether it's spiritually, and now stepping more into with relationship and with business stuff and things like that. But I've always felt like if I'm going to coach other people, I have to have walked the path already that I'm coaching, or at least something that was parallel, that was relatable, because you can only take other people as far as you've gone. And so for me, I hired coaches that they had not just done it themselves. Like I've trusted that they knew the system that was going to work. And I didn't know the system. I didn't know it. And so that was why I hired them. It was just looking for people that they've walked the path before. Now I can just follow what they tell me, and I'm going to trust this coach. I could have hired, there's 100 different coaches I could have hired, and you could get different perspectives and different ways of prepping. Like for a fitness show, you get all these different theories. But even I chose like this is who I'm choosing intentionally. And so I'm going to listen to them. And that's exactly what I did. And it was a process of becoming, because it was fun to, I think there was a bit of freedom for me immediately because I had started. But a lot of people will start, and then as soon as there's roadblocks and there's bumps in the road, then they fall off. I think for me, the reason that didn't happen is because I set so many accountability factors up for myself right away, with the coaches, with choosing the show, with I signed up for the show, so I was locked in. And then I told a lot of people. And so whenever there's things in my life that like I'm going to do, I typically start telling them to people. Yeah. Like when I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to do this, I just start saying it, whether it's to friends or clients or, now to you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And that's a repeated pattern of, it's just another layer of accountability of, okay, I've said I'm doing this. The words came out of my mouth. They didn't just float around my head. I said it, which means for me, that is a level of commitment to myself, like I'm going to hold myself accountable to that word that I said. And so I was locked in. Like there was, and it isn't that in that 5-month time frame there wasn't stuff that came up, things that could have 100% thrown me off track. But I was so locked in that it didn't matter whether it was trips, whether it was family issues, whatever it was, I was totally locked in. And I remember, I'll tell you what's a funny thing is like I had never seen abs, my visual abs before. And so for me, one of the, because I always tell people now, like I had no idea if I had good abs or not. And you may have the best abs in the world and you'll never know it until you actually put in the discipline and the time to get lean enough to actually see those muscles. Because we all have them. We've all got them. You wouldn't be like walking around if you didn't have them. But I remember one morning walking into my bathroom and I'd always check, like pull my shirt up and check, how's everything looking? Flex in the mirror. Do I see anything? And I remember the first morning that I saw like a shadow. It was like shadowing.
Is that what I think it is?
I mean, and I stood in front of the mirror for like 10 minutes and just kept moving around, trying to like see it. And it was just it was a shadow. It was just like a glimpse that they were coming in. I was so excited. I think I told everybody. I think I went to the gym and was like, I saw shadows today. Yeah. And isn't that interesting too, of just like, I was so excited to see the shadow of what was to come because it just gave me this hope that, oh yeah, like that's there and I'm actually moving in the right direction. And that's something that I'm going to continue to reveal. And then what's really funny is like my forearm here, this little muscle, I was on an elliptical machine one day and I looked down and I saw this little brachioradialis like moving and I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. And I literally ran around the gym and showed everybody. So anytime I had something to celebrate, I celebrated it and then I ran around and told everybody else too because I was so excited and I wanted them to celebrate with me. And
well, your own results can be also inspiration for someone else and motivation for someone else of like, okay, she's doing it. Like I can do it too. It makes you almost look at yourself and be like, okay, I need to get this unlocked too.
Yeah. So it was exciting, and I like I said, over the course of that time, I lost the weight. I actually went out to California. Monica Brandt was holding a camp. It was called Fem Camp, and I went out to her camp, and I learned at her camp how to pose. I got to meet her in person first off, which was awesome. I think I already had shared a little bit about that. So I went to that, taught me how to pose, and then I get all the way to my first show, and I actually watched video back of this just like last week because I was like, it's on YouTube, my very first show in Texas. And I was like, it's so interesting to watch it back. And my family was there and they were supporting and encouraging me, which is so cool to actually have that family support because I know that's something a lot of people don't have, but they were all sitting there cheering for me. And when they called my name as the winner, like my sister Linda's like crying and like she's like, oh, I can't, she'd had to deal with me for like months, like being a ding dong because I was living with her at the time and she'd had to put up with all my cooking weird food and all of that stuff. And so to have them there and be supportive was really cool too. And I won that first show and I won first place. It was competing in figure at that time. And I feel like it really shifted everything for me. Not just that I had gotten to that point and I do remember like waking up that morning and I looked at myself in the mirror, and if you're not familiar with fitness competitions, like you put tan on, like I didn't go sit in the tanning salon for it's fake tan that you put on. And the reason that you put that on is so that ab definition pops out and like you can see all of the muscles. But I had my hair done and my makeup done, and I was not a makeup person. Like I rarely wore makeup, and this tan on in my suit. And I remember looking at myself, I was in the hotel and I was like, I am Fitness Barbie. And I was like so excited. But I literally was like, I'd never seen myself like that before. And it was this just like, I can't believe that's me.
Well, in the contrast, so as you're saying this Fitness Barbie, to rewind back 6 months, and where you were at, and looking in the mirror and not even being able to identify yourself at all. Like you're
Yeah.
just like, what have I done to myself? To then you took control, you made the changes, you did the work, you created the consistency and the discipline, you had the coaches, the accountability, and then to step on stage and to win, which is rare. It's hard to win.
Yeah.
Getting on stage is one thing, and that's challenging, but winning a show is tough.
Yeah.
You've won a lot of shows. but I more than winning was the fact that you did it, and
Yeah.
you broke through those fears and those barriers and those things that were holding you back, and you were able to celebrate the fact that you had worked so hard. And that's something that's rare too. A lot of people don't celebrate it.
Yeah.
And so we've done all these competitions now, and you're in that space, and your identity is starting to change. You're starting to change just how you're looking at yourself and viewing yourself from this point forward. Share a little bit about that. And really also the underlying, this is so important with people that are watching, your why, your really big why, the why that kept you going every single day.
Well, when I look back now, like what that first show did for me, I left there and it was a show. It was a national qualifier. That was my very first show. So winning that show gave me actually a title of nationally qualified NPC competitor. My very first show was an NPC show. And being given that title, and like you said, having 5 months before that been looking at myself in the mirror like completely disgusted and frustrated and feeling trapped by the compulsive overeating behavior, and then 5 months later to be given a title of you are a nationally qualified figure competitor, it was like I was trying to wrap my head around that new identity. And it was like coming to this realization that this thing that I wanted so badly was finally part of who I was. And I wanted to I really took that seriously. And I told myself, this is who you are. Like, this is part of who you are. And I'll talk a little bit into the food situation too, because it wasn't like I was able to stay really super disciplined throughout that entire process because I was so focused on this goal of stepping on stage. And so for me, like, I love Cheetos, and, I just love them. I still love them.
She does. She loves Cheetos.
But during that period of time, you could have taken Cheetos. I love mac and cheese. You could have put mac and cheese in front of me. You could have put anything that was my favorite food right in front of me, and I would have said no to it because I wanted this thing that was further out so much more than I wanted to taste and chew and swallow something in the moment. Like, it meant so much to me to get to the stage on that day and know that I had done everything that I could to be the best that I could be. And so my focus on that point in the future is what allowed me to just stay really consistent even in those little moments when it didn't matter if anybody else was looking. It was about me knowing the choices that I was making. So when I got to the stage, I truly felt that. Like, there was no regrets. There was no like, I wish I had done that different. I could have wish I'd gotten my workouts in. I literally wanted to step on stage that day, wherever the cards fell, just knowing that I had given it my all. I had prepared the best I could. I had truly just done my absolute best. And so then you win, right? And I don't know what it would have been like. I don't want to know what it would have been like if I didn't win. But
that's a good topic for another day.
I don't think I would have gone back into the old lifestyle even if I hadn't won, because I felt so good. And I think I would have continued pursuing, like, trying to, pursuing shows.
So I know you had the show date, but you were thinking beyond the show, even when you set that initial goal.
Well, I felt for years that, and hindsight, like, I believe God put me in the fitness industry for a purpose. Like, I believe he planted those dreams and those desires in me for a purpose, because the world of competition opened doors, like, it opened doors for me that have led to ministry. And so, like, when I'm looking back now, it's like, I don't know what else I could have done. Like I had such a, this is what I want to do. It was so strong in me that I can't even actually imagine going and doing anything else. Like there was just nothing else that I could imagine. Like this is what I would do with my life. I just, it was that strong in me. And then that first win was such validation for me that my head got a little too big. And so I'd love to say I've been just walking with Jesus and he kept me humble the whole time. But this was when I was into, I had my season of what I call like my ding dong years that didn't really shift until it was around 2007-ish, 2007 or 2008. And I figured this out because I went back and looked in my journals, but it was a year or so before you and I had met maybe like a year and a half before you and I had met, that I really started shifting my heart back to the Lord. But prior to that, I had gotten into, new age stuff, that it was all about me and this was all about me. And I turned my back on the Lord for a long time because of wounds and pain and all of, the stuff. And so even in that time, like now the Lord had his hand on me the whole time. Like because I knew him, I had accepted him as my savior, but I was just like, I got this. And then going through the times that was like, oh yeah, like, I understand the appeal of new age thinking and a lot of those things because it's all about me. It's all about me, and I'm the most important thing, and I'm the God of myself. And I understand the appeal of that because it really feeds the ego. And I was more in that kind of headspace, honestly, at that time. And so the pride came up in me like a lot. And so thankfully, I had family around me that checked me and were like, I don't know who you think you are. And I'm so grateful for that now because, I battled with it internally, but then the Lord was like, yeah, you need to like knock it off. And he brought me, as I started to turn, he was always there. I had to turn back and start looking at him, which I did. And I think I mentioned before too, one of the things that made me start turning back was when I went to Monica Brandt's. And that was like this hint of like, oh wait, like she's walking strong in that faith. But I can't lie and say that I didn't, those years prior and like, and leading in, like I was just ignoring the Lord. I didn't talk to him. I didn't spend time with him. I would never talk. I didn't go to church. I was just, everything was all about me. So it was kind of dealing with that, dealing also with the compulsive overeating behavior. I kind of went the opposite because I was so terrified of losing or gaining the weight back that I stayed really, really, really strict with my eating. And I think it's good to, I don't tell people that this is exactly what you should do because I don't think this was I still didn't have a healthy relationship with food. I went from compulsive overeating to being super disciplined. And then I was terrified of going back to the compulsive overeating. So I stayed super disciplined, but the food still had control over me. So it took some time to sort through that and recognize that because it was almost like I had a bit of an all or nothing. And so I had to be all for a period of time. And then if I did have a cheat meal, I didn't have dessert for over a year. Like I didn't trust myself with sugar, with sweets. So I literally went for an entire year after competing where I didn't eat dessert. And I really actually stuck to pretty much the same structure and flow that I had throughout the competition too, which again, I don't think that's I think people can have some more flexibility and less. It was rigid. That's the word I'm looking for. I was very rigid. And that's also a trauma response too. So it took me some time and some years to figure out, okay, I want to nourish my body, and the food is about nourishing my body, and I don't have to have the fear of food, and I can use food for it, doing for my body what I wanted to. But then when we have some treats, then I don't even worry about it. I don't track it. I don't go to the gym for 3 hours after having a cheat meal because I have to now punish myself. But those are all mindsets I had to overcome, because in the past, that's what it had been. Oh, I did this, I messed up. Now I got to go to the gym and work out for 3 hours. Or, okay, I screwed up on the eating, so I'm just going to eat the entire bin of ice cream now because, I messed up, so I might as well just go the whole thing. So I get whenever people talk to me about these mindsets that they struggle with, I get it. And it was probably, really, even after I met you, there was still there was still things that I was working on. I would say probably it was around like maybe 2010-ish that I really feel like I finally came into this, here's my normal, creating the normal for my life. So, and an enjoyable normal of these are the staples of my eating. This is the staples of my diet. This is what I eat the majority of the time. But then I don't worry if I go up, or if I go have a cheat, or if I have some chips, or if we go on a trip and we eat out, because I know what my normal is. And even when I give myself those freedom to go and eat, when we go out to dinner and stuff like that, I don't feel this need to punish, need to shame, none of that. I don't experience any of that at all. And it's because I know my normal. And so I have it's become this freedom with eating and with food that I love. I get to keep my body in a great place. If I decide I want to do photo shoots or something like that, I know how to tighten things up and dial things in. But I don't have anymore that coping desire, that numbing desire when it comes to food. I don't have the fear of food that I used to have. And I think because I also have just such little stress around food, that plays into it a lot. So many people are so stressed. Oh my goodness, I ate this, or I got to eat this, I got to eat this. And it just causes so much anxiety. I don't have anxiety around food. And I just wanted to share all that because I know I don't ever want people to think it was just like, poof, everything changed and it was perfect. It really was a journey. Probably, I would say it was a good 5 years after starting to compete that I really was able to settle in and take a look at those things. And then I think the freedom and the total, I literally have no anxiety over food anymore. Like if I want to eat some chips, then I eat some chips because I know what my normal is. And I also know, I understand myself well enough that I know what I can do and stay in a healthy place. Because my most important thing is being strong and being healthy and being fit and being a good steward of the body that I've been given. And so it's a really nice place to be, but it definitely is a journey to get there.
And just working with as many people as we have over the years, it is the number one struggle that people have by far.
Yeah.
It's not the working out an hour a day. It's even some people don't even struggle with cutting alcohol out or some of those negatives. But food is choices all day long. And everywhere we look, from TV commercials to when we're driving in the car and where your emotional state is, you are triggered. How to just be aware of hey, I don't go grocery shopping when I'm really hungry or really stressed because I will buy things that are probably not the best choices in the world. It's understanding all of that. And I think, 2005, you have the aha moment, and it took you 3 to 5 years to really get to a place where the food was no longer controlling you, or you had that appetite for coping mechanism with food. That's really, really important for people to understand that it is not an overnight. You use being rigid and extreme discipline to get through it. You had to create what we call a set point, and that body being adjusted to this new body, but then you had to do the work up here.
Well, and if I was telling someone how to do this now, because I really didn't go to the healing until much later, like healing from my past wounds and past trauma, which were the actual root of the compulsive overeating and the rigidity to begin with. And so I kind of used the behavior modifications to get me through. But like we talk about in so many other things, those were great for sustaining the weight loss and for, the pain tolerance, the modification, that kind of thing. But when it came, the freedom that I experience now, as far as I like that the compulsive overeating doesn't have a grip on me at all anymore, is because of the healing journey. So I actually have gone in and tackled the roots. I sprayed some Roundup on them. Suckers. Sprayed some Roundup on those suckers.
Good.
I don't think you're supposed to use Roundup. I don't know.
You got to wear a mask or something.
Anyway.
You got to be,
I don't know.
put that on your food.
I don't garden very much, so. But that's why. And then it's my relationship with the Lord. Yeah. And then things start, when I turn my eyes back to the Lord, it was the priority being a good steward of the gift of a body that he's given me. And then also understanding he put the passion and desire for the fitness industry in me for a reason, because I believe I'm supposed to be a voice to help people walk that journey. Like he puts lights in every single industry, and I 1000% believe that he planted you and I in this industry to be a light for people that are trying to walk that journey.
So as we close up this episode, what an amazing, amazing journey. What are a few takeaways, action steps that you would tell to that woman out there that may be struggling and hard to look in the mirror? She feels like she's too old now, or, those lies that end up creeping up in her mind, or a man as well. Like, what would you tell that individual?
Well, I think there's a few takeaways that stand out to me, and we've already gone over them. One is accountability, is find someone to share those goals with. And it may be a coach, it may be a friend, it may be a spouse if that's a safe person, if those are safe people for you. But find someone that you can share those goals, who will encourage you and who will actually hold you accountable to those goals. I think the other piece is, don't be afraid to take a look at where you're at. Take those before pictures. And because I do that in quotations, because it may be your physical body. This could apply to any other parts of your life too, your spiritual walk, your relationships. Take the before picture and then think, where do I actually want to be? Like set something like, this is where I want to be, and I want to get real, raw, and honest about where I'm at. Accountability. And then if I was going to take this journey over, the one thing I would say is, don't just do the behavior modification pieces. You're going to have those. But if you're in a space to be ready for it, do the healing work and figure out, why were those behaviors controlling you in the first place? Don't just put a Band-Aid on the issue. Like, get in there and dig out the roots so that you have that heart transformation, which is what I went through. And it's not just a behavior modification, so you can really get there and then walk in that freedom.
Super powerful. One last one that I would just add in there is creating a big enough why that you don't quit. A why that's so large that you wake up no matter what, and it has to be done. And then you start waking up and it becomes a part of your identity, and you're just like, I do this because I feel good and I can be the best version of myself. A why so large you don't quit. And that may take some writing, some praying, some soul searching on what that why is for you, but I encourage you to do that.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for tuning in for this episode of A Few Things. Please like it, share it, send this to a friend if you know someone that needs to hear this message. Send us a message. We want to hear your story. We want you to be a part of this community and help you through whatever you're struggling with too. So thank you, and we will see you again next time.